We have a special guest today, team. We have Jeremy in the private group. So thank you, first of all, for being part of the crew. Seventh in the group and 93rd overall. It's pretty stiff competition, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Sometimes, like midway through the round, I feel like I go up into that, top three or four in the group, and then two thirds of the way through, I'm down at 15th, 16th, and settling back at that, 7, 8, 9, 10 the last few weeks, which is pretty good. But sort of shows how crazy the group is and how many good players there are.
Definitely, mate. And so you're saying you've been hanging around this similar rank for a little bit now?
Yeah, I think I was sitting around sort of 300 first round and then between sort of around that 200 mark for a couple of weeks and just every week just sort of growing maybe 10, 15 ranks in the last few weeks, so slowly ticking away, which is good.
That's pretty exciting, mate. Have you been up this high before?
No, so last year was my first year. I got into it with
Good.
some schoolmates, which was sweet. And at the start, didn't really know much about fantasy and threw together a team just based on players' names I knew. And then I realized people do podcasts about these sorts of things and got pretty fired up pretty quickly. And then, yeah, spent a fair bit of time on the spreadsheets and watching podcasts pre-season and getting into it pretty hard.
Nice, man. What was it? Yeah, you had a really, really good start in there at 707th. Dropped back to the worst rank of the year at 1600. That's sad that that's your worst rank. And I've been inside that once. There you go. But very quickly got to 200th and at your best rank now, which is really cool. Second time, second week in the top 100. Heading into round one, mate, just to help some people out. Did you have anything sort of specific that you felt took you into a really good start? I'll get that. I'll get up that round one team while we're here as well.
Yeah, so I mean, going through one of your chats early on about the whole guns and cows type play was definitely my thoughts. Get
Yeah.
those guys who I wanted last year. Obviously starting with Cleary, the big one, and then sort of tossed up between Haas and Yo, and thought Haas sort of a funner player to watch and good
Yep.
upside and maybe a bit of cash to make. And then I suppose one of the things I wanted was make some cash and then get to a few key players pretty quickly, like get to Yo quickly and get to Jaden Campbell super quickly,
Yep. Round three.
and have a few DPPs sitting there ready to go. With Tamale and Seyfarth and Garrick and a few of those guys, and yeah, they really
Gilbert
that's
as well
something I
at that point. Yeah.
yeah, something I learned the hard way last year was not having those guys, having those DPPs to get you out of those sticky situations, and then makes it so much easier to loop in good scores as well when you have that bit of flexibility.
That's something interesting to ask as well. Do you feel like you've been able to loop pretty well this year?
I do, and then probably in that like 3 through 5, like I didn't have no outs
Yeah.
really, and no injuries. So I think there was a few rounds there where I probably wasn't taking my best scores for a few, but you can't really predict when people like Shibasaki was going to have a good round
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Toa and those guys. Like it just is what it is, and you I suppose you have them for the price rises, and if you get a good score, that's great. And if you can't always get it, how can you predict when those sorts of outside backs in particular are going to have a good game where they score 2 tries or they drop the ball and have 5 missed tackles the next.
Oh yeah, Tom Gilbert-esque.
Yeah,
Oh, what a time!
literally.
I'm glad you got his first good score, but yeah, like so. Just looking at some of your trades, mate. Shiva in round two after the good start, he had a few decent weeks for you in the end. You sold him 136K more expensive, so that was nice. You got Campbell in round three for his good score, the same week I bought him, so that was nice. Got on Stafford. You saw something pretty early there, and you're like, oh, he looks pretty good. I'll jump on there with Stafford.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously you can't get all of them and didn't, missed a couple. I think I missed your Cowboy center, and that cost me a little bit, but
Yeah.
get a couple of those guys. That's all you can really do.
Yeah, we got Egan early, which was nice. You grabbed Yo after a few price drops, which was
Yeah.
yeah the smart play. You've got him all the way through until now, which is good. Tarpany last week, Jazz, yeah, Drinkwater a couple of weeks ago. That was lovely. Yeah, you seem to like even if you did miss a week, you seem to jump on guys in that hadn't gone up too much or they hadn't missed out too much. Like Fletcher here in round 7 was a good time to buy. It's probably only Wong that was probably the one you missed, mate.
Yeah,
The week
yeah,
after.
and then yeah, yeah, missed
Yeah.
that big score, and then I'm not I'm not really much of a gambler, and I don't know why I gambled on Dewey, but that
Oh yeah, yeah.
did not pay off. So that was the trade in, trade out. But I
Yep.
definitely learnt from that muck up, and two trades didn't cost me any money, but a bit silly and naive, I suppose. But you hear all the hype about whether they were going to let him come back in, and
Yeah.
what the rest of the boys really thought about their number six, and you go, oh no, there's no way they'll let them back in, and yeah, I think my biggest mistake there was I felt really good about the trade on like the Tuesday, and then it got to the Thursday or the Friday, and I couldn't unloop the trade for whatever. Couldn't
Yeah,
undo the
true.
trade because of the way I set it up.
Yeah.
So that after that, I've been thinking about like this last weekend with the whole like Tom Jenkins, what is he doing sort of thing
Oh
that
yeah.
I was set him up to trade with King Togia, so I could come back on it if Jenkins didn't. Oh no, sorry, I had Jenkins trading for Tavaga. So if
Okay. Both later in the week. Yeah.
Jenkins, yeah, yeah, yeah. So if Jenkins got the starting role, then I'd let Tavaga go and then play his game. But yeah,
That's good. That's good learning too. Yeah. It only takes one to to get you annoyed and
yeah,
then fix it up. About ladies and gents, we'll come to my side fairly shortly with how I went, but we'll just keep going with Jeremy while he's taking the time to chat with us, and that's great to have you on, mate. Top hundred's a special feeling, and I do hope you stick around there. But looking at your team from last week, mate, 989, a pretty solid one, as we saw, pushed you up just the 5 ranks there. But the Couchman injury was the big one. I suppose what Hubner's 31, Marzu and Garrick was kind of the mess there, but plenty of good stuff on the other side. How do you see that the week went, and what are we thinking going forward into next week, and then after that, maybe a little bit around your spreadsheets and some buy planning.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, last week was yes, pretty solid. I think yeah, just good to creep up a couple of ranks. Obviously you can't do anything about the Couchmans of the world, and people like Garrick and Marju will get you big games, and they'll give you poor games as well, and that's just part of it. I've had both of them from the start, so that's okay, I
Mm,
suppose.
true.
Um, the Hubner's tricky. I didn't really want to play him. I didn't really have a great choice at that time. I think because he was a late push to the bench. I think by which time I'd already had my looping set up and got a bit busy with work and just sort of said, "Oh bugger it, it'll be fine."
Ended up being fun. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I suppose moving forward, I think I need one mid for for the first major buy,
Yeah.
and
Jazz
maybe
Tarpany,
one,
Clark. Mm.
yeah, and then to Vega. Um, and I may need a wing fullback. I'll have to double check a couple of things depending on what Marju's injury is.
Yeah, it looks like it's a month at least, so
Yeah, right.
you'll have to
Okay.
go,
Well,
sadly.
you'll have to go. But I also like I've had him from the start. I think I've made like 150K off him or something. I think he was 480 when he came in, so it's
Yeah.
about 150K, which is pretty sweet. Yeah. So I think in terms of the guns, I think I'll get rid of Yo and keep Haas, May, and Cleary.
Cool.
Because I bought in like I if I sell Cleary now, I think I'll lose money because I started with him, whereas with Yo, I bought him and made a tiny bit of money, so I feel a
Yeah,
bit better about it.
couple of
And
K.
yeah, yeah, and Cleary can come back through after Origin and go wild, and Yo can score between 60 and 80 as he does because that's what Yo does.
Yep.
It's just whether or not there's anyone to even like sell him to properly. Whether he's becomes a McInnes or an AFB maybe. I've probably got to open up the spreadsheet and have a better look about where we're going with that. And then, yeah, otherwise, pretty set up for the next few weeks. I think depending on how long, I think I can leave Couchman as an injury for like 3 weeks and feel okay about it. Just
Mm,
because for those second two Origin games, he's going to be so important just to give you a bit of flexibility and get you a good enough score. But if it's any longer than that, he'll go. And then, unfortunately you've got to play the Katogas of the world for that, round 12, and that'll be okay, and many other people will as well. But yeah, hoping to get Jade and Campbell back in as soon as possible after that first Origin bye round. And then yeah, just need to figure out whether or not I spend up for a gun-ish mid, like as I said, a McInnes or an AFB or someone, or whether you go down to the Saifidis and those guys of the world who could definitely do a good job. But I thought about it last week, and I did my Excel last week on who I was going to buy, and just felt a bit uneasy about Saifidi, the fact that he's come off injured in 2 games and
yeah,
that sort of thing. But that's what props do sometimes, so sort of part of it.
that's fair. And then Jazz got 41 anyway. And
Yeah,
yeah, it all makes a lot of sense, mate. And that's the big question with that mid spot is do none of those top guys are at the moment flying. Like
no,
AFB scored a try, got 52. He's coming off injuries.
yeah,
If he didn't score that try, he's in a crappy spot. McInnes is sort of 40 odd into try 70. So Leo Thompson's now apparently out this week as well. So super tough for those that likely to be ruled out with delayed concussion symptoms. And so it's probably a spot. I think we just wait till next week. Hey, is
yeah,
that what you're thinking?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely won't be pushing them because it changes so quickly. It's so
Yeah.
hard with buy planning. If you go too early, if you go, 4 weeks early, I think for like Greg Marju is a great example. He was a great option 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and now he's out injured. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, I think you picked him up
Yeah,
round
I've had him for
7 or
three
something like
weeks.
that. Did you?
Three
Yeah.
weeks I've had him for, and he, yeah, what, 40, 55, 32. So like didn't even work out scoring wise. And then, yeah, you lose him for those buys. So, okay, but that could happen with Sharp or anything like that. Hey,
Oh,
it's probably
exactly
more
right.
the forcing the trade. Like it's like, oh, I got this guy that's averaging like near 50, this guy that's probably could average 53 or 54, and they help me in round 12. Oh, yeah, it sounds good enough, but then something could happen like this where they don't score super well. The other guy hits the 50s, and then you lose that guy for buys, and you've got to make two trades then. So it's like that's where waiting it really works, like you're talking about there. But mate, this week, general thoughts? Are you looking to make two trades then? Would that be Yo and Greg and keeping Couch? Is that the play?
Yeah. Yo, I'm still not sure who he's worth going to. So
Mm,
I might just leave him as a looper for a week.
okay.
And then I've got to go through and figure out properly who's a half decent wing fullback because I was meant to keep Jenkins. He was going to be I was going to have 4 wing fullbacks for round 12 was going to be Garrick, Marju, Sharp, and Jenkins. And then this week, with Jenkins being dropped to the bench in that 17 role, I just sort of wasn't feeling good about it and couldn't really figure out where he was going to actually get played in the end and if he was going to get played and
Yeah.
if he just sat on as the 17 just in case Toto got injured, then he'd cop the zero and then just lose money for no reason. So I mean, hindsight's a beautiful thing. So I think he scored a try in his 40 minutes and picked up a 30 odd or something like that and made a bit of cash.
It was interesting how they
But
played it, eh? He
now,
came on for Garner, I
oh,
think, and then Garner ended up moving to the right. Like it was a bit of a weird setup, but it worked out okay for him anyway.
yeah, yeah. Well, not for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
yeah, so now I've gone from, in a week, I've gone from four wing fullbacks for 12 down to two.
Yeah,
So there's no one I can really think of to really pay up for. So I either can, I think, well, Garrick will have to come back to the wing fullbacks, and then I'm gonna have to do some research. To be honest, I haven't gotten that far yet.
no. Well, I suppose
Um,
the question's going to be if you hold off this week, then you know all the Origin stuff, and then I think you probably
yeah,
pick one of Teddy or Karaz, maybe. They're probably the two best down there.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I was super keen on Kraz a couple of weeks ago, and then
yeah.
I don't know, I just got spooked out of it a bit with the Origin chat, and then
Mm,
he scored a 100 odd and
yeah.
40 odd last week. But it's amazing someone in a wing full, a true winger can score as well as he does. Like he's just a
Oh,
machine.
yeah. 12 tackle breaks on the weekend. Absolute
Oh,
freak. And yeah, it'd be pretty cool to see him and Crichton in the on the right hand side for Origin. That'd be
oh,
super fun. But
absolutely.
yeah, I'm noticing myself this week, mate, that we've got I've got a few of these mid range guys as well. Hubners, Tavanga. We've got King Tongia as well. Rob Toyers. You're probably more confident playing after that last good score, but
Yeah,
Katonga as well. Like with all these guys out, we're gonna have to play a host of them. So I think it'll be the week of do you get lucky with those mid range guys, and if they go really well, you can use all the other guns you've got to propel you ahead, or if they have a bit of a struggler, then we could lose a few ranks. I think it's gonna be a pretty interesting one before next week. I'm not sure if round 12 is going to be a big mover, but I think this one here with Leo Thompson out as well and all these injuries, it could be interesting how it all plays out.
yeah, absolutely. I have like at the moment I've got enough green dots for this week coming, and I
Mm.
was sort of wondering whether I would just potentially leave it be because I don't really want to make any two major moves before those Origin guys are either locked in or locked out. And but yeah, I'll have to have a think about things more definitely. And but yeah, I've already you've got 17 trades to go, so I think I've only saved two, which I don't feel terrible about. I don't feel great about either.
Yeah.
So I think if I can keep it to one this week, that'd be fantastic. It's just a matter of it definitely needs to be either a mid or a wing fullback for round 12, and no one's really setting the world alight for me at this point, other than the guys I've already got. So yeah, open up the Excel and have a look around, and we'll see what we find.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. And maybe it's a plan for one and loop Katonga or something and then see how that first or second game, Dogs, Roosters. Yeah, maybe like even see what like Savala or something like that does in the second game and then decide if you want to get that, make that extra trade just to get a better score.
Yeah,
Probably a pretty
absolutely.
fun play. Mate, only less than 200 points away from first, which is really, really cool. Hey, like Jake's killing it up top, and Andrew's almost 50 points behind in sixth there. So that top 10, man, it's not too far away. It's like 100 points or so away, a little bit over that.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously doing really, really well, and that team values are pretty solid. But yeah, hopefully a couple of things can go my way. But I think last year around this time, everything got a bit crazy, and heaps of people got moved around, and scores were either really good or really bad. And I kind of didn't mind the chaos of the 17 players in the minor buy rounds.
Yeah,
I think it's obviously going to settle things down a fair bit this year, and probably avoid a few like rage quits from the game that a few people would have had last year, which is a good thing to keep people involved.
yeah.
But I'm not, as you said a few minutes ago, I'm not sure those rounds you can really go absolutely crazy in terms of you know making massive gains, but just about ticking away slowly on those sorts of guys. But uh, yeah, they're firing at the moment up there at the top.
It's exciting. And yeah, shout out to Jakey, Andrew in the top 10 there, and then Les, Jackson, Sam, Will, all ahead of Jeremy in that top 100 for our private crew, which is super exciting. And hopefully we can get the winner this year. And hopefully if it's not Jake, mate, it's going to be you. That would be plenty of fun. May as well while you're here, mate. We can talk through the podcast. Do you listen to any other podcasts, or is it just JB all the
Uh,
way?
I'm a bit of a podcaster, so I listen to every JB one, and sometimes I'll also watch the YouTube of the same podcast on the
Oh,
like
you're too good at me.
on a Wednesday arvo. Just so sometimes you got to visualize it and hear it. But yeah, listen to a couple of the other guys. You know, the casual athlete, pretty good. And definitely always listen to the Wires Weekly boys for a
Oh,
good laugh
nice.
on a Wednesday arvo.
That's cool. There you go. Yeah, so you've dived all in then since you started. What were you doing before fantasy then?
Oh, I
Were you
don't
playing
know.
any games or anything, or just life?
Oh, pretty busy with football, and then had a bit of, had surgery, and that sort of shut me down. And
Oh,
then,
damn.
yeah, a few mates from high school were like, oh, you know, let's have a crack at fantasy football. And it's, oh, yeah, that sounds interesting. And uh, yeah, really got into it super quickly.
Yeah,
It's
sounds
become
like it.
probably my primary hobby by a long ways, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it changes quick, and then you're locked in for life, I think. So, especially if you have a
That's
good
it.
season here, you'll never leave, which will be good fun. But shout out to Jordan up top. He's going gangbusters every week at the moment. It's up, 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 and he's into 28. So we had the first month or so, we were all kind of feeling it out, and over the last few weeks, he's definitely really pushed ahead. And I think our best rank was like just outside the top 1,000 for a while there. And now we've got Nick in at 353, Austin in at 714, who I know watches the video. Shout out to you, Austin, from the amateurs. And then and Jake Olive there from Talking League. He went like I think I got 1,000 or whatever last week, and he got like 1,200, and then this week goes 1,041. He went from like I think 12K to 1,100 in 2 weeks. So it shows that if you have that couple of big ones, you can really push ahead. And it's a pretty close one here between Longy, Chris Cook here from our private crew, myself, and then Scoot. We're all in a little bracket there from sort of 1,500 out to 2,600 there. So lots of guys doing well and plenty in this section here. Which I think top 10 you're doing pretty well on the podcast as we're all the way down to 33, which is pretty crazy. And Nikki will chat to you soon. And we've just heard from Maddie, and we got Mitch's team results as well there. So yeah, that's the podcasters. What else we got to go? I got to shout out Jared for beating me. He was talking up the rivalry all week, and then there was some updates across the weekend. I don't think he was happy with my three Eels boys getting 50s, and then I think I had a few injuries, and he avoided a little bit of it and got the 1,035. So shout out to you, Jared, and the private crew. I did get a couple of wins there. The Gargarov, which is a really strong competition actually. I may as well show you guys in there. Like Longy's in there, Scoop's in there. A few of these guys, like we got Phil, TK's in there. Geordie here, he always crushes. He's always like top 300. So that's a really strong one. It's a good one to. It's good for you guys as well to join head to heads because it's really hard to follow during the week, like how kind of where you're at, and it's good to just jump into these matchups and you can see who guys have brought in and all that kind of stuff as well. So make sure even if you aren't this year, try and get in some head to head leagues because it's a really easy way to follow along, especially on your phone too. Because I know on the computer, that's the way you can see a lot of the scores. But if you're not, if you're out and about, that's where it's definitely cool to see. But that's all the league stuff. Let's just get into my side, Jeremy. And if you're happy to stick around, that's cool as well. You can comment on my side. But I was mucking around a little bit with trades before. I was just having a little play around with old Herbie. I was like, well, what? Yeah, I've got so many outs this week. It's Cleary, Yo, Couchman, Nicholson, and Marzu there, and I was like, oh, Hosking sounds pretty fair for my side, and do you get Farnworth? But then it's trying to get all those pieces together down there, isn't it? Like we were talking about Jeremy with do you have the one or two extra? Like you were sitting there with the fourth wing fullback, and if you bring another one in, do you then not play like a Yongi or a Tamale next week, or do you just bite the bullet and play those guys? Like with that, I was just mucking around with setting up my 13, and I've got the five down here, but that's Katonga on the emergency. So it's like, well, that is a guy that you probably want, but then it leaves you with an extra player for next week. So I think that's probably some of the big decisions that we have to make this week, mate. What do you think about that whole thing? Is it just worth getting the best player in that position, or would you maybe sort out your team in a different way?
Yeah, it's really tricky, and I suppose that's the importance of having like a good buy planner, so you're not over subscribing to those specific positions for round 12.
Yeah.
Are the Finns in for 12?
Yeah, they missed 13, 16.
13, 16. Okay. I mean, like, when is buying in Herbie Farmworth going to be a bad idea? I
Yeah,
suppose,
that's
you
what I was
go,
thinking there.
yeah, literally, you can have Dylan Lucas next to Herbie Farmworth, and you have two of the top three centers in the game, or top two centers of the game, whatever they're at,
Mm.
and he'll set you up for buys, and it means you don't have to rely on, yeah, the what I suppose you'll have either Katoga or Tamale, and you go, oh well, you have
Yongi as well.
Herbie Farmworth do his thing, which is great.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
where it
that
comes
sounds
to.
good.
Yeah, that's where it's like, do you just try and build up to those best scorers, and like you buy him now and you have him for the whole year. That stuff's cool. Like, or do you plug in a JC who again you're gonna have all year? I think it's gonna be, I suppose, suitable to what you think, or even if it's just like for the 1 week play, it's like, well, I'm fairly well set up for 12. JC, I think, can score better than Farnworth this week, or he has that upside or whatever. Then you go, I'll go on him now and then make the extra trade next week to finish out the 13. They're the types of things, but they're a few of the guys I'm looking at, and you look at, guys like Fogarty or Katoa, they're really fun. But for myself, I've currently got Savala and Hines ready to go for 12. So it's like, do you need those guys? My annoyance with the annoyance with my team right now is I was pretty happy having Greg there, having Nicholson as a keeper. I was going to trade
Yeah.
out Yo, but with the situation now, it's like my question. Spoke with Matty T just before, jumped on that video. It was like, with Couchman being back in 14, similar to what you said there, he could be an important hold, but it's a long time to hold someone at that price. Yo, he could be helpful in 13
Yeah.
and 14 definitely, but then sounds like he's going to miss 15, 16. So there's with the five out, potentially six if Stafford's not back, you almost end up holding guys that you probably would have sold, and that's where it gets a little bit frustrating. And you can have I love a little bit of a rant sometimes on these videos. It's my therapy. How do you go with that if you haven't having a something goes unlucky or doesn't go your way? How do you deal with that stuff? Are you a bit of a or you just brush it off the shoulder? You'll be
Oh,
right.
in the non fantasy world, yeah, I get a bit frustrated, and in the fantasy world, you have your ups and your downs, and you have your good scores and your average scores, and you take them when they get pretty excited when someone like Ruben Garrett gets you 101 or whatever,
Oh,
and
yeah,
the next week it gets you a 25. You go, well, he gave me a 70 average over 2 rounds, so I'm happy enough with that. And
that makes
I
sense.
probably get more frustrated with when I think I make a good decision and then it turns out to have been a poor one. Like, for example, I think I sold Tamale, and then he got 350s in a row or something like that.
Right.
And I think I
Yeah.
sold him for Dewey as well, which was
Oh,
just
that week. Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
in hindsight. And that one hurt. And I was kicking myself for that, but you know, it's
Yeah, I'm with you there. That makes sense.
it's very important fantasy, but it is it's a game and we play for fun.
Yeah, and there's so much you can't control, which is the wild thing in it all. But yeah, going on with your conversation before about mids, it's probably like the only one that's kind of pressing would be Saifidi if you wanted him, because otherwise you've got sort of King, um, McInnes and AFB all in a very similar position. I think they all missed round 13, I believe. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's right. Dogs play all three, but yeah, 13, 16, same as Dolphins. So yeah, they're all in a similar position, but like none of them are shooting the lights out right now. And then it's that mid range. It's like Tavanga. It's yeah, Saifiti, really. And then the only other one probably like Nafahu White. Like, did you have a little think about him potentially?
Yeah, I mean, I've been feeling a bit gross about Siwa Wong for a few weeks now,
Yeah.
and had had thought about when we got to 12 whether that would be, I suppose sideways in terms of scoring, but like an upside in terms of positioning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because I mean, I obviously got on Wong when he went cold for a couple of weeks, which
Yeah.
hurt a little bit, and missed. I think I've lost money on him now, which has been pretty good. But yeah, Nafahu White definitely someone to give you much more flexibility across our tough rounds coming up.
Yeah, they do miss a couple of games. Wong, you've gained 35K, mate. So don't give yourself
Sure.
don't kick yourself too much on that one. But yeah, mid something in my side, I definitely need to look at. But I think I may just wait until next week, and then yeah, don't need a wing fullback, but maybe it's or a center, and that's where like you look at Herbie or Carraz or Teddy if they're available. They're the kind of guys that could have that big score in round 12. So that's where it's like, oh, maybe you do want one of those guys, but I suppose there's also the thing that one of these guys down the bottom could get injured, and you can wait that week, or you bite the bullet and get Farnworth because he's a great scorer, and then one of the guys gets injured, and you're like, okay, cool, now I'm set for round 12 anyway. Yeah, the edge position for me, like that straight swap from Nicholson to Hosking sounds pretty fair. We know he's a gun. Don't chase it. Like if you've already got the two edges for round 12, I don't think you'd have to chase it. Like we've made a lot of cash this year. He's still like he's near 600K. It's not like if he was 500K, I'd say probably just get him anyway. But at 600, it seems yeah more of like if you need it, it just falls into your lap and it works out well. Shame that it has to be for Nicholson because he yeah I was really surprised at him. I was looking to potentially sell soon and he just kept pumping out 50s and 60s mainly in base. That was good fun, but yeah, I suppose the rest of the side it's all fairly normal compared to most people and we're getting set for 12, but yeah, I think with the extra time, like you're saying, you like that we get that little bit extra break and the three games on Sunday to watch it. It actually gives us some time to get in that planner and check out where our sides are at and look at 13, look at 14 and 15, and I suppose make that best team for round 13 as well. Because Matty was talking about before, like with Isaiah Yo, let's just say you have Taps, May, and Haas for round 13, and then you've got Yo as well. Like do you drop Yo out of that side? Like that's pretty wild to think that one of those four doesn't count in your scoring. It's just crazy. But that's this year. That's how it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I suppose a good problem to have when you can have four big player guns and you get to pick three of them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree, and I think I suppose circling back to like the conversation regarding Yo, if he didn't have a buy this week, I think I'd be much more reluctant to sell him.
Yeah.
But in saying that as well, didn't also anticipate having two or three injuries this week as well. So maybe we can afford to keep him, and obviously there may not be a couple of extra rounds there that we get a score out of him, but if there's not a really clear sell, someone to buy from his sort of value, he's Isaiah Yo was the best player in fantasy last year. Anything can happen, but I think the shout on Herbie is definitely something to get excited about. And because
Yeah.
I suppose coming into our discussion tonight, there was no one I was really excited about for this week. Whereas last week I was like, oh yeah, don't know what's happening with Big Red, but Tarps is a great option, and Jazz Tavega, he can do a job, and Saifidi can do a job, and whereas this week I just sort of nothing sort of jumped out all that exciting, but maybe it is time for Herbie to feel that excitement value.
Yeah, well, that's right. We've seen his upside, yeah, back end of last year, and and sort of his consistency this year's been crazy. But that's probably a good thing to think of with your trades too, mate. Like, if nothing stands out or is like out there and exciting for you, then maybe it is a week where you don't trade as much. Whereas other weeks you might have five options. It's like, well, I'm max trading this week. I can't get them all. Whereas others you don't have to. So yeah, I think that's a good spot to leave it, mate. I think you've been
Yeah.
a valuable addition to the videos. We've had plenty of people on this year, and I'm hoping the audience is enjoying that variety and getting different opinions out here on my channel. I know I do a lot of videos, and most of them are myself, but yeah, I think it's been awesome. So thanks, Jeremy, for your
Awesome.
contributions in the private crew as well, and I hope they continue to fly the flag for us. Fly the flag for us. That was a good one in the top 100 this year, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Cheers.